Atlanta has always been a city that breathes drama like oxygen, but what exploded around Tamar Braxton pushed that city's heartbeat into dangerous territory, the kind that felt less like gossip and more like a cultural earthquake. Tamar Braxton didn't just whisper about an emergency. She threw gasoline on the entire internet when she claimed she woke up in a pool of blood, missing 4 teeth with her nose fractured. That kind of confession wasn't just shocking. It was cinematic, tragic, and suspicious all at once. And the moment that blurry hospital photo and chilling caption hit Instagram, timelines froze, group chats erupted, and gossip blogs pounced like wolves on raw meat. What looked like a personal medical scare instantly became public property, dissected frame by frame. Yet the longer fans studied it, the less it resembled a random accident, and the more it looked like a staged spectacle. Suddenly, Tamar Braxton wasn't seen as a fragile survivor, but as a manipulative star spinning another storyline to shield herself from truths she didn't want uncovered. Her credibility cracked, her reputation swayed, and at the messy center stood not only Tamar Braxton, but also Funky Dineva, a Miami dentist whose statement sounded rehearsed, a suspicious echo of Tamar Braxton's own words, and whispers of an affair that pulled Mendices Harris's name into the storm. The first red flag didn't come from Tamar Braxton's photo. It came from the so-called medical confirmation that followed. Funky Dineva's name was already on fire, dragged into the mud by Tamar Braxton's supporters who accused him of being involved in her collapse, when suddenly a new savior appeared. Dr. Amira Ogunleye, a Miami cosmetic dentist specializing in porcelain veneers and influencer-style branding, released a carefully shot video. In it, she confirmed Tamar Braxton had woken up in a pool of blood, had multiple fractured teeth, 1 tooth completely gone, and even a fractured septum. She even tossed in the word sleepwalking, as if she were Tamar Braxton's personal trauma doctor. At first, it looked like credibility, but within minutes, people realized the statement wasn't medicine. It was marketing. Social media tore it apart line by line. Why was a dentist known for smiles and veneers suddenly talking about fractured noses, deviated septums, and sleepwalking patterns? Why was Tamar Braxton's emergency being narrated like a scripted press release? Why did the words coming out of Dr. Amira's mouth sound eerily like Tamar Braxton's own Instagram caption, as if someone had handed her a script and pressed record? Fans didn't buy it. They branded the video a PR stunt, a desperate attempt to prop up Tamar Braxton's crumbling credibility while painting Funky Dineva as a villain. The timing made it worse. Funky Dineva had been burned alive on Twitter, accused of drugging Tamar Braxton or causing her collapse, when suddenly this dentist appeared like a shield. Convenient. Too convenient. And then came the receipts that killed whatever was left of the dentist's credibility. Within hours of releasing her video, Dr. Amira Ogunleye added Tamar Braxton to her social media profile, showcasing her as a proud client. The captioning didn't look like a medical warning. It looked like an advertisement. If Tamar Braxton was really fighting for her life, why did her dentist seem like she was shooting a promo reel? Why was Tamar Braxton signing consent forms so her cosmetic dentist could speak publicly instead of just showing her face and letting the world see her wounds? That disconnect became the breeding ground for conspiracy theories. The most viral one? Tamar Braxton paid her dentist for a public statement, essentially buying legitimacy when nobody believed her. Tamar Braxton got her proof, the dentist got clout, and fans still got no evidence. And the internet wasn't forgiving. Tweets turned into memes. This ain't healthcare, this is Hollywood. Not a dentist trying to play ER doctor. The drag was merciless. But if Tamar Braxton thought the dentist video would calm the storm, she underestimated her audience. Because longtime fans knew this wasn't her first teeth and nose scandal. They remembered the Chrisean Rock fiasco. Back in 2023, Tamar Braxton accused Chrisean Rock of violently assaulting her close friend James Wright Chanel, supposedly knocking out his teeth and fracturing his nose during Tamar Braxton's tour. Tamar Braxton blasted Chrisean Rock across the internet, James Wright Chanel cried publicly, and lawsuits were whispered about. But then, silence. James Wright Chanel never showed missing teeth, his smile looked the same, and Chrisean Rock denied everything. The evidence never matched. The headlines and the scandal fizzled out. It lived and died online, unresolved. And now here Tamar Braxton was again, but this time positioning herself as the victim. 4 teeth missing, nose fractured, pool of blood, déjà vu. The similarities were too loud to ignore, and fans didn't. One viral post summed it up in 6 words: same script, different cast, Tamar Braxton. That comparison dragged Tamar Braxton into deeper waters than she ever expected. Instead of sympathy, she was painted as manipulative, recycling old storylines for new attention. Her pain was framed as performance, her tragedy as theater. And at the center of exposing those cracks stood Funky Dineva, whose own words turned a confusing situation into viral shade that stuck. Funky Dineva wasn't just defending himself. He was weaponizing Tamar Braxton's silence, her subliminals, her desperation. When Tamar Braxton tried to post cryptic captions like "My voice is my PR stunt" and "The rabbit got the pew pow," Funky Dineva didn't stay quiet. He doubled down with lines that turned into internet folklore. How big was the pool? Of blood? Tamar Braxton? Olympic size? Standard? Kiddie pool? Or just spit from brushing your teeth? It was savage, it was cruel, but it was unforgettable. Overnight, Tamar Braxton's tragedy became a punchline. Twitter flooded with toothless memes, kiddie pool graphics, and jokes about GoFundMe campaigns called "Save Tamar Braxton's Smile." The ridicule wasn't just shade, it was brand destruction. But behind the mockery was a brutal truth. Funky Dineva had been dragged into a scandal he didn't create, painted as a monster, and Tamar Braxton refused to clear his name. Her half-hearted apology disappeared in 24 hours, buried in Instagram stories like it never happened, and then she unfollowed and blocked him. To Funky Dineva, that was betrayal on top of betrayal. To the internet, it was proof Tamar Braxton had something bigger to hide. And that's when Funky Dineva dropped the word that set gossip blogs on fire: romantically. In a live rant, he declared, "Even in this moment, I'm protecting you medically, I'm protecting you romantically. But you keep playing. This ain't what you want." That one word flipped the narrative. Suddenly, people weren't just questioning Tamar Braxton's teeth. They were speculating about Tamar Braxton's bed, the name that caught like wildfire, Mendices Harris. Whispers spread that Tamar Braxton and Mendices Harris had been spotted in the same building late at night, seen in the same neighborhoods, allegedly working on projects that didn't look professional at all. The rumors were toxic enough to threaten 2 households, Tamar Braxton's public image and Yandy Smith's marriage. Funky Dineva never confirmed, but he didn't have to. His sly insinuations gave fans just enough rope to hang Tamar Braxton's credibility. And if Tamar Braxton really was sneaking around with Mendices Harris, it explained everything. Why Funky Dineva dragged her but stopped short of naming names. Why Tamar Braxton leaned on a dentist for credibility. Why she rushed out of music. Video in the middle of chaos, as if distracting people with visuals could bury whispers of infidelity. Suddenly, the pool of blood wasn't just about teeth. It was a smokescreen for a scandal far bigger. Meanwhile, Funky Dineva wasn't just surviving, he was thriving. Every time Tamar Braxton posted something shady, he flipped it into a $5,000 video. "You financing my Miami trip, Tamar Braxton? You paying for my Range Rover? You gonna pay me for my pain?" That line, "pay me for my pain," became gospel. Fans repeated it, TikTokers lip-synced it, shirts were printed with it. Funky Dineva had turned Tamar Braxton's drama into his business model, her shade into his paycheck. Tamar Braxton tried to wound him, but instead she bankrolled him. It was a twisted irony that played out in real time. She staged chaos to promote music. He monetized her chaos to promote himself. And the fans ate it up because it felt like unscripted reality television unfolding in real life. By the time the first wave of this scandal crested, Tamar Braxton's entire image had shifted. She was no longer seen as a survivor, but as someone staging accidents, paying dentists, recycling scandals, and maybe even sneaking around with someone else's husband. Her credibility wasn't just bruised, it was broken. And Funky Dineva made sure of it. His shade, his rules of engagement, his refusal to let her silence paint him as guilty, turned him into the loudest voice in the room. Whether fans loved him or hated him, they couldn't look away. Tamar Braxton had set the stage with one caption: I woke up in a pool of blood. But Funky Dineva had stolen the show. And yet the scariest part wasn't what Funky Dineva had already said. It was what he hadn't. He held back. He teased secrets, medical, personal, romantic, that he claimed to be protecting. This ain't what you want, he warned, and fans believed him. Because if Tamar Braxton kept poking, Funky Dineva might just spill the one truth that would burn her image to ashes. The cliffhanger wasn't about teeth, blood, or noses anymore. It was about credibility versus chaos, silence versus exposure, and whether Tamar Braxton could survive one more round of Funky Dineva's relentless shade. The storm around Tamar Braxton didn't die down after the dentist statement or after the shady captions. It only grew louder, more twisted, and more dangerous to her brand. Because what started as a sympathy grab had transformed into a saga of receipts, recycled scandals, and whispers of betrayal. And the one person steering the narrative was not Tamar Braxton herself, but Funky Dineva, who realized he didn't need to break a sweat to keep control. He just had to sit back, watch her stumble, and then cash out on her every misstep. But the internet wanted more than shade. They wanted answers. They wanted to know if Tamar Braxton was hiding a secret so big that she'd rather make herself the butt of jokes than let it spill. And that secret kept circling back to one dangerous word: romantically. When Funky Dineva dropped that bomb, fans went wild with theories. If he had simply been shading Tamar Braxton for sympathy stunts, the feud would have stayed in one lane. But the second he suggested he was also protecting her romantically, it cracked open a new universe of speculation. The blogs feasted, TikTok stitched his clips, and YouTube lives ran with headlines connecting Tamar Braxton to Mendices Harris. The whispers painted pictures of late-night meetings in luxury buildings, business projects that didn't line up with any official rollout, and rushed visuals that looked more like cover stories than creative work. Every blurry sighting, every vague caption, every timeline shift became evidence in the court of public opinion. For Yandy Smith, the idea of her husband Mendices Harris even being linked to Tamar Braxton was enough to spark silent fire. While Yandy Smith didn't publicly say a word, fans scoured her posts for hidden messages. A caption about loyalty? Fans said it was aimed at Mendices Harris. A post about protecting energy? Fans said it was about Tamar Braxton. The paranoia spread like wildfire. And the silence from Yandy Smith only added fuel. Because in reality TV culture, silence is never neutral. It's strategy. And if Yandy Smith was strategizing, fans wondered how explosive the truth must be behind the scenes. Meanwhile, Funky Dineva had no intention of letting Tamar Braxton slip away quietly. He turned her healing journey posts into content gold. When she wrote, "The rabbit got the pow-pow," he mocked it as gibberish, calling her a toothless muppet still bumping her gums. When she said, "My voice is my PR stunt," he clapped back that her voice wasn't selling albums, only scandals. And when fans begged him to leave her alone, he doubled down with his now infamous business model. Every shady post she drops, that's another $5,000. You not hurting me, Tamar Braxton, you paying me. The way Funky Dineva positioned it, Tamar Braxton wasn't just fueling gossip, she was personally sponsoring his lifestyle. He framed himself as a hustler who had flipped pain into profit, turning someone else's chaos into his income stream. And the more he said it, the more the internet believed it. By this point, the dentist's statement was almost forgotten, but in the worst possible way. Instead of clearing Tamar Braxton's name, Dr. Amira Ogunle's polished video had become a symbol of the cover-up. Fans dragged the fact that Dr. Amira Ogunle specialized in veneers, not trauma surgery. They dragged her for tossing around words like fractured septum when she wasn't an ENT doctor. They dragged her for smiling while describing a pool of blood. And the most damaging part? The screenshots showing Tamar Braxton proudly featured on the dentist's Instagram page. That wasn't medical, it was marketing. One fan tweeted, "If this was life or death, why is her dentist acting like she just landed a new celebrity endorsement?" The credibility of both women crumbled together. And just like that, the deja vu hit harder. Because the internet loves nothing more than a pattern, and Tamar Braxton had given them one. They dragged up the entire Christian Rock versus James Wright Chanel scandal, pointing out how Tamar Braxton once claimed her friend's teeth were knocked out and his nose fractured, yet no evidence ever surfaced. Now it was Tamar Braxton claiming the exact same injuries for herself, once again without evidence. The narrative shifted from sympathy to suspicion, and fans branded her a manipulator who recycled scripts whenever she needed buzz. One viral meme put side-by-side images of Chrisean Rock with the caption, "The Attacker," and Tamar Braxton with the caption, "The Victim of the Same Script." The internet had spoken. This wasn't tragedy, it was theater. Still, Funky Dineva wasn't satisfied with just dragging Tamar Braxton's credibility. He wanted control. That's when he laid down his rules of engagement like commandments. His words carried the finality of a judge's gavel. You don't say nothing, I won't say nothing. You don't post nothing, I won't post nothing. That includes subliminals. All that God is elevating me. Nope. We not accepting none of them. Anything that feels like shade, I'm going live. Period. It was clear. Tamar Braxton wasn't going to outsmart or outmaneuver him. The second she slipped, he would drag her again and profit off the backlash. Fans were split right down the middle. Supporters of Tamar Braxton said she was a woman recovering from a traumatic accident, mocked cruelly by a man profiting from her. Pain. Supporters of Funky Dineva said he was the only one brave enough to call out her manipulations, refusing to let her throw him under the bus. The division cut deep, sparking debates about misogyny, accountability, and the ethics of turning scandals into income. But while fans argued, Funky Dineva thrived. His subscriber count soared, his live streams pulled record numbers, and every shady soundbite became TikTok gospel. He wasn't just clapping back, he was building an empire on Tamar Braxton's chaos. And yet, the real ticking bomb was still the romantically hint. Every time Funky Dineva repeated that line, the internet spiraled deeper into speculation about Mendices Harris. Was Tamar Braxton really sneaking around with him? Were the rushed video shoots really cover-ups for late-night encounters? Was Yandy Smith silently dealing with betrayal behind the scenes? The silence from all three only made the whispers louder. Fans argued that if the rumors weren't true, someone, anyone, would have shut them down. But no one did. Tamar Braxton stayed cryptic. Funky Dineva stayed sly. Mendices Harris stayed invisible. And Yandy Smith stayed silent. In the world of reality TV, silence is rarely denial. It's suspense. That suspense became unbearable when Tamar Braxton deleted her apology, unfollowed Funky Dineva, and blocked him entirely. To her defenders, it was a boundary. To her critics, it was a confession. To Funky Dineva, it was a green light to drag her harder. He immediately fired back, mocking the disappearing apology and declaring, "That wasn't no apology, that was a slap in the face. You thought you cleared your way. Name by hiding a story for 24 hours? Nah, Tamar Braxton, you gonna learn today." His words hit like darts, each one designed to pierce not just her pride, but her brand. From there, every move Tamar Braxton made felt like desperation. When she posted about healing, fans flooded the comments with tooth emojis. When she dropped new music, comments were filled with pool emojis. When she tried to pivot to positivity, the internet dragged her back to the blood, the teeth, and the dentist. She couldn't escape it. Her credibility had been buried under memes, and the more she tried to rise above, the deeper the internet dug. Meanwhile, Funky Dineva cashed in on every update, turning her struggle into another payday. The irony was painful. Tamar Braxton had once accused Chrisean Rock of destroying her friend's smile, and now the internet mocked hers. She had once positioned herself as the protector of James Wright Chanel, and now she was painted as the manipulator who staged her own tragedy. She had once used sympathy to rally fans, and now sympathy was the one thing she could no longer access. Her stunts had backfired, her scripts had been exposed, and her silence only made the whispers about Mendices Harris more believable. By now, the feud had transcended shade. It had become a case study in credibility collapse. Tamar Braxton wasn't just fighting Funky Dineva. She was fighting history, fighting receipts, fighting her own reputation. And the scariest part? The feud was still unresolved. Because while Funky Dineva dragged her daily, he never dropped the final bomb. He kept holding back, teasing that he was protecting her from worse exposure. "Even in this moment, I'm protecting you," he said. "But this ain't what you want." That lingering threat haunted every post, every live stream, every rumor. It was the cliffhanger that refused to die. And so, part 2 of the saga ended not with clarity, but with deeper confusion. Tamar Braxton was battered by memes, bruised by speculation, and broken by doubt. Funky Dineva was richer, louder, and more viral than ever. Mendeecees Harris was silent but central to the whispers. And Yandy Smith remained the unspoken figure, her silence heavier than any shade. The internet wasn't satisfied with jokes anymore, they wanted the truth. And if Funky Dineva ever chose to drop it, the fallout wouldn't just destroy Tamar Braxton's credibility, it could burn an entire reality TV empire to the ground. By the time the scandal reached its breaking point, Tamar Braxton was trapped in a cycle she couldn't escape. The sympathy she wanted had turned into ridicule, and the pool of blood that once sounded tragic had become a meme that mocked her at every turn. Every time she posted, the comments weren't about healing. They were filled with tooth emojis, pool jokes, and shade that buried her credibility deeper. What was meant to silence her critics only gave them more reason to drag. Funky Dineva had seized control of the entire narrative. His shade became the soundtrack of the feud, his rules of engagement turned into gospel, and his threats of protecting. Tamar Braxton romantically kept the internet in a constant state of speculation. He didn't even need to drop names. The mere hint was enough to ignite whispers about Mendeecees Harris and to pull Yandy Smith's marriage into the line of fire. The silence from all sides only made the rumors stronger. In the end, the scandal wasn't about teeth, blood, or dentists anymore. It was about power and control. Tamar Braxton tried to manipulate the story, but Funky Dineva flipped it, profited from it, and held the ultimate card. Mendeecees Harris stayed quiet, Yandy Smith stayed unreadable, and fans were left hanging on one question. What secret was big enough that Tamar Braxton would risk turning herself into a punchline to keep it buried? The feud didn't end with clarity. It ended with silence, suspicion, and a threat hanging in the air. If Funky Dineva ever decides to reveal everything, the fallout won't just destroy Tamar Braxton's image, it could shake an entire reality TV empire to its core.